Wildcard Studios just announced that the Ark Survival Evolved Battle Royale that was originally only on PC will be making a return and will be available on all platforms. This means it won't only be on PC, but it's going to be released on the Xbox One, the Xbox One S or X, the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, and it's even being released on the Nintendo Switch. The release date set for Ark SOTF, or Survival of the Fittest, has been set for December of 2022, which if you're watching this video within a few weeks of it being posted on my channel, that means we'll be seeing it next month. Unfortunately, the Nintendo Switch release date is different from the console and PC release date, and the Switch community won't see it released until sometime in 2023. But on top of all that great news I just dropped on you, I still have more. The Ark Battle Royale will be cross-platform, so PC and console players will be able to play together or against each other in this Hunger Games-like game mode. Now, Wildcard is calling this a prototype, so there's no telling what we can expect from this, but I'm still super excited for this regardless. I only got to play the game mode for somewhere under 100 hours before it stopped being developed the first time. So for it to be coming back before the Ark 2 release is huge news to me, and I'm happy to see it's returning. I'm also not sure if this game mode is going to be available on Epic Games or not, being that it wasn't included at the bottom of the screen at the end of the trailer. So if I find out more about that, I'll leave the info in the comments or the video description. They said that the reason they're doing a prototype is to get feedback from the player base, and if the player base likes it, they'll continue development. To me, this makes it seem like if the player base doesn't like it, they won't continue development, which makes me wonder why they wouldn't just try to change the things that the player base doesn't like instead of just scrapping the entire project. But who knows, maybe they will. They've also mentioned that Vin Diesel was partially responsible for the revamp of Survival of the Fittest. He said he wasn't able to play Survival of the Fittest when it was originally released because he played Ark on Xbox at the time. He also said that he really likes the idea of Ark being a live sport and being able to watch quote-unquote clutch plays. I'd honestly have to agree with him on that. So shout out to old Vinny boy for having some of the same interests I have and for getting this prototype started. I'm not 100% certain how they're going to do this, but I'm assuming that you'll most likely need to own Ark Survival Evolved to play Survival of the Fittest. They also wanted to make it clear that the development of Survival of the Fittest was not interfering in any way with the development of Ark 2. Unfortunately, we haven't heard any other news about Ark 2, but at least this could potentially be something that will keep us entertained while we wait for Ark 2's release in 2023. When they announced Survival of the Fittest in the Extra Life charity live stream, Wildcard said that they took a step back to see why Survival of the Fittest wasn't holding a player base originally and wanted to try to make the game mode more streamlined, or in other words, playable by a wider audience. They want people that have never played Ark Survival Evolved before to be able to just hop on Ark Survival of the Fittest and play the game without a huge barrier to entry with the hopes of attracting a much larger player base. The idea is that the less you need to know to play the game, the larger the potential player base will be. This idea is true for the most part, as long as the game isn't complete ass trash. So let's just hope for the best on that. Let's go over some of the changes being made to the Survival of the Fittest game mode and what things will be the same as they used to be in the original Survival of the Fittest. For those who don't know, Survival of the Fittest was previously released around 2016 or so, and it stopped being developed at some point shortly after due to the lack of player base the game mode was attracting. At least that's the reason they used in the live stream. It could hold up to 72 combatants that were dropped off from the sky by these beam of lights. And just like in the movie The Hunger Games, all players have the option to either run to the center of the arena and try to grab valuable items that would give them the upper hand throughout the game and risk the chance of dying in the beginning, or they could run into the forest, hide, and scavenge for materials to craft their items instead of risking it all in the beginning. Then players could find and tame dinos around the forest that could fight alongside them throughout the rest of the game. As the match progressed, there's a ring of death that would get smaller and smaller, forcing players to move to the center of the arena. This would result in players either getting killed by the ring of death or moving to the center to inevitably fight other players in the arena until there was only one left standing. The last player alive is the victor of the match. Pretty dope, right? There were also game modes for tribes that allowed anywhere from 2 to 6 man tribes that could test their skills together. The matches could be set anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours, but I think the most common was 30 minutes if I remember correctly. One thing that was mentioned in the old Survival of the Fittest store page on Steam was that the top ranked players were listed dynamically on the survivetheark.com website and were provided monthly prize packages. I really hope they bring this to the new Survival of the Fittest. You know how dope that is? You can win prize packages for being one of the top ranked players in the game. That sounds awesome, and I really want to see it in the new one. Let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. Would y'all like to see the prize packages in the new Survival of the Fittest? The store page on Steam says the old one also had tournaments in the game, which I'd really like to see in the new one too. The old Survival of the Fittest allowed you to play on official servers or create your own unofficial servers too, which if you don't have your own ARK server, you're missing out. You can get your own ARK server from Nitrado with the link in the video description or in the pinned comment. I am an affiliate with Nitrado and I do make a commission when you use the link, but it doesn't cost you any extra and it helps support the channel. But anyway, let's continue. They said that most of the features that the original Survival of the Fittest had are going to remain in the new Survival of the Fittest, and that the map would be a variant of the original map. So it should be pretty similar to the original layout at the very minimum. I'm pretty excited to see what they do with that. Now let's talk about the changes being made and things being added to the new Survival of the Fittest. Like I said earlier, they're making changes to make the game mode more streamlined. And some of the ways that they said they're doing that are inventory management, resource management, harvesting, and taming. They're making changes to all of these things to make it more streamlined. They mentioned they wanted to make this Survival of the Fittest focus on more of the war aspect of the game instead of the survival aspect of the game. I'm kind of curious to see how they plan to do that. Another big change being made to the game is that they're adding a RTS commander mode that allows you to control your dinos in a strategic way. Any player in the tribe can be the commander of the tribe's dinos. But in addition to that, if a player in the tribe dies and their team is still alive, the player that died still has the ability to control their dinos. You're going to be able to control one dino at a time or control all of them in a group and send them to attack. Sort of like Warcraft or Age of Empires. This makes it a lot less boring for the teammate that died during the match because they're still able to help the tribe out in the Commander RTS mode. I'm not sure how I feel about this whole RTS thing, but I can't really say for sure until I see how it's implemented, so I'm not gonna really comment anymore on that. Hopefully, if the game is enjoyed by a large enough player base, they won't discontinue development when ARK 2 comes out, but I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for that. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up and check out the video on the screen I just made about the ARK black market, where I find a guy that makes 150K plus a month selling ARK dinos.